The map represents the grey parrot range in Africa. According to the map, there are 2 grey parrot species were recorded, which include Timneh grey parrot and Congo grey parrot. In terms of the Congo grey parrot, the estimated population is from 560,000 to 12.7 million, while the estimated population of the Timneh grey parrot is only from 12,100 to 259,000. The main range for Congo grey parrot is in the middle part of the Africa, which includes Nigeria, Cameroon, Gabon, and Democratic Republic of Congo. However, the Timneh grey parrots only can be found in small part of Guinea, Liberia, and Côte d'Ivoire. In conclusion, the Timneh grey parrot faces extinction. As you can see on this map, there is a lot of garbage soup across the planet. To the east of Japan, the eastern rubbish patch is located, while to the east of Hawaii lies the western garbage patch. Translucent sludge of deteriorating plastic debris composes these rubbish swaths. The North Pacific Gyre Current is responsible for keeping this soup in motion. The map's title, Out of Sight, Out of Mind, suggests that these places of garbage soup are not well known. i.e., Firefox, Chrome, Safari, and other browsers are shown in this pie chart with their respective market share in 2016. If we look at the pie chart on the left, we see that Chrome has a 61% share, while the other options have an 11% share. When it comes to alternative options, Safari has the highest percentage at 5%, while Other and Opera both have a percentage of just 2%. As a result, the majority of users use Google Chrome as their default browser. The bar graph shows the percentage of men in senior development position in 3 companies from 1980 to 2010. While more men were in senior positions in Apple than other 2 companies in 1980 at 15%, the trend was fairly erratic with a 2% drop to 13% in 1985, followed by a rise of 1% 5 years later. In 1995, men held 7% more top development jobs than in 1990. After a slight drop back to 19% in 2000, by 2010 25% of top posts were filled by men. By contrast, at IBM men fared much better. In 1980, 2% of senior posts were occupied by men with no change for 5 years. By 1990, the figure had increased to 13%, doubling to 26% in 1995. The situation was less remarkable at Microsoft than the other 2 firms except for the year 2010. From the data, it is clear that men dominated senior posts at IBM by 2010. It is clear that there are 5 distinct stages in this process, beginning with the capture of energy from sunlight. The final 2 steps show how domestic electricity is connected to the external power supply. At the first stage in the process, solar panels on the roof of a normal house take energy from the sun and convert it into DC current. Next, this current is passed through an inverter, which changes it to AC current and regulates the supply of electricity. At stage 3, electricity is supplied to the home from an electrical panel. At the 4th step shown in the diagram, a utility meter in the home is responsible for sending any extra electric power outside the house into the grid. Finally, if the solar panels do not provide enough energy for the household, electricity will flow from the utility grid into the home through the meter. The percentage of Japan's tuna exports to various areas is shown in the table from 2015 to 2016. Oceania and North America received 35% and 30% of all tuna shipments, respectively, while the Middle East received 3% and Africa received 2%. Despite this, imports of tuna from the Middle East increased by 60% over the previous year, while those from the continent of Africa decreased by 17%. Overall, tuna from Japan was most popular in Oceania and North America, while the Middle East had the greatest growth in exports. Sales of cotton candy by age are represented graphically in the pie chart. 30% of all cotton candy was sold to those between the ages of 30 and 39. People aged 50 to 59 accounted for 6% of all cotton candy sales. Consumers aged 30 to 39 bought the most cotton candy, while consumers aged 50 to 59 bought the least. From 2008 to 2013, the graph depicts how social media has impacted followers, advocates, and donations. More than anything else, it was the number of followers that increased the greatest within the time span. There was a noticeable increase in the number of donations from approximately 50 in 2008 to over 600 in 2013. In general, social media increased the number of followers the most while decreasing the number of donations. The destinations of Indonesian tourists may be seen in this bar graph. With 1 million visitors, some land was the most popular stop. Next came Japan, 800,000, Australia, 700,000, and Korea, 600,000, in the top 5, 600,000. Pakistan was the least popular destination, 350,000. As a whole, Indonesian tourists preferred some land to Pakistan as a vacation destination. The flowchart depicts the many phases involved in the generation of power by solar panels. Solar panels on the roof capture the sun's rays, which are then transported and converted to alternating electricity by the inverter. To distribute the power to various lights and appliances, it first passes via a fuse box. Renewable energy from the sun is generated by solar panels and distributed through a network of transmission lines. The graph depicts the evidence found in the rings of trees. Tree growth rings are a great way to tell the difference between hot and cold climates. Because of the wide spacing of the lines, we may conclude that the tree is growing at a faster rate in the warmer environment. Because the lines are so close together, the tree is only developing a small amount at a time in the colder climates we see. As a result, trees thrive in warmer regions where they may develop and expand at a quicker rate. Finally, here is a great illustration of how tree growth rings indicate how the tree develops at varying rates depending on the climate in which it is located. From 2012 through 2022, the data in this line graph is expressed in millions of dollars. In 2012, the rate's income was around $1,450 million and is expected to climb to almost $2,400 million by 2022. According to current estimates, user fees will reach $2,000 million in 2022, up from $1,000 million in 2012. In 2012, borrowings were over $800 million, which is expected to reduce to $700 million by 2022. There were $400 million in grants and subsidies in 2012 and they are forecasted to rise to $500 million by 2022. A constant growth in rates income and user charges is expected between 2012 and 2022, while borrowing and grants and subsidies are expected to increase and decrease. Brewing instant coffee is depicted in a graph on this page. The graph clearly shows that the first stage is to add instant coffee to the mug, and the second step is to add sugar to the cup. The graph shows that the following stage is stirring, and the next step is adding hot water, and it's easy to understand why. The last phase, as seen in the graph, is referred to be a perfect cup of instant coffee. Finally, the graph provides information on how to brew instant coffee, as seen in the graph. Below median rainfall is predicted for Australia from October to December 2002, as seen on this map. Yellow and red hues suggested a 60% to 55% possibility of below average rainfall on the east coast, while blue and green colors showed a 35% chance on the west coast. West coast rainfall is more likely than east to dip below the median, on average. Solar panels are connected to a battery system for DC power or an inverter for AC power in this diagram to demonstrate how light is transformed to energy. The sun's irradiance powers solar panels. To create DC power, the solar panel's electrical current is routed via a charge controller and finally to a battery system. Alternatively, one may use an inverter to create AC power from a battery system. The numerous phases of transforming light into electricity may be seen in this procedure. The dual image of a Venn diagram and a triangle puts light on the comparison of the fundamental needs model with Abraham Maslow's hierarchy of needs. On the left-hand side, we have a multicolor Venn diagram showing three basic needs that are status, stimulation, and security needs. These needs are then represented in a triangle with their examples from top to bottom. The top is filled with self-esteem and actualization needs such as creativity and respect, followed by belonging needs like friends and family. The last two portions of the triangle show the security needs, which means freedom from fear and physiological requirements like food, water, and shelter. We can conclude that these two models show crucial information on our needs. Various sorts of American families' annual income and total assets are shown in the table below for the years 2015 and 2016. The fewest, numbering just over 6,000, were homes headed only by men, while the majority, numbering over 82,000, were headed by families. Married households, on the other hand, earned an average of just under $86,000, while non-family dwellings brought in roughly $34,000. As a whole, there were more families living in the United States, and married couples earned more money than single people. A lovely colored bar graph depicts the main sources of funding for higher education in Scotland. Different colors are used to signify different types of information, such as yellow for services. Overseas fees are represented by maroon, and financial council grants are represented by dark blue. The donations are shown in £1 million in monetary terms, and the data covers the years 1994 to 2002. As can be seen from the graph, there is no difference between Research and Financing Council awards in the years 1994 to 1998, which range between £500 and £750 million, but the gap widens in 2001 and 2002, reaching £1,000 million. Finally, throughout the years listed, services, abroad fees, and endowments make up a small fraction of the assets. This graph shows the average GPA of students based on their academic majors, if not psychology. In terms of GPA, art majors have the highest at roughly 3.2, followed by math majors at around 3.15. The average GPA for English and history students is 2.93, but the GPAs for other majors are closer to 2.91. Art majors tend to have the highest GPAs, whereas history majors tend to have the lowest GPAs. The frequency with which various forms of technology are utilized is depicted in this bar graph, which displays the data in millions. There are 8 million people that use the telephone as their primary mode of communication. TVs, 6 million, computers, 4.5 million, radio, 3.5 million, and iPods, 1.5 million, round out the top 5 devices, 1 million. The camera is the least popular technology, with just about 300,000 users. Telephones and webcams are the most frequently utilized technologies, respectively, in the United States.